guys, we're getting ready for step 2, and what I would like for you to do is get your colored pencils and separate them between warm and cool colors. So warm colors are on one half of the color wheel. Those are going to be your reds, oranges, and yellows, and then the cool colors are kind of the colors of like grass and the sky and that kind of thing. So greens, blues, and purples. And we're probably going to use a little bit of white and brown and black. Remember, white we use to highlight. This is a tint. Brown is a mid-tone, so that is your tone. And then black we use to shade. So we can add some extra value by using those 3. So you're going to pick a spot to start, and I might start at the bottom, and I'm going to zoom in for you a little bit. So what we want to do is we want to pick any color, and I'm going to I'll pick turquoise because why not? And we want to kind of show more of the curve of this tree. We already did it with the line, but now we're going to accentuate by trying to figure out where the shadow is. So we know that this is curved and we can shade a little bit on either side, but if we know where the light source is coming from, that will really help us. And it's up to you where you put the light source. I think I am going to have mine be coming from down here, as if there's a light on the ground and it's shining up. Sometimes you'll see trees like that at night. The light will be shining up on them and they look really pretty. So I'm going to have my highlights underneath. So anything above that will kind of be dark. So if the light is coming this way, then this side of my tree is going to be light and this will be my darker side. So I'm going to press kind of hard, and then I'm going to get lighter and lighter and lighter and try to blend it in where you don't see a line. That's the goal. But you're going to color all of it, right? But this corner is pretty dark. Now I can use the same color again next to it. You won't see the lines as much that well, especially if you're using pencil. That's why I had you guys use the Sharpie pen. It'll show up a little better. So we're just going to kind of make our way around. Think about where that dark side is. This is coming around the corner, right? And this area is blocked from the light. So when we talk about value, which is the fancy word for shading, value is the dark and light qualities of a color, right? So this is a value scale with this turquoise color. You want it to slowly get darker, 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 right? This is 100% pencil pressure, and down here is 0, right? And you want it to fade down to 0, and then this is your 50%, right? So you want to kind of have all of those percentages in here, and you want to try to blend really smoothly so that you don't see any hard, sharp lines, right? Everything blends pretty nice. If it kind of looks hard, then kind of go over it a little bit, blend it down. And I like to go in like these little circles, right, and pull them down. I feel like it blends it better than just going straight across with a line. I feel like these little circles are way more helpful. So once your pencil gets kind of flat on the end like that, it's a lot easier to do the shading. When it's really sharp at first, it's kind of hard. And the other thing that we can do, now that we have that in, we can take our white and we can add a little highlight on the side. It's going to blend in with that blue. And then the other thing that we can do, if we really wanted to make this super dark, very lightly go over it with the black, right? And that'll just kind of push the value. So when you hear me say push the value, we're making it darker than it normally would be, right? Like over here. Now that's even darker, right? So I want you to go in and do that to your whole tree, but I want you to be weird. So please, please, please be weird. I'm pushing with 100% pencil pressure on this corner, right? And I'm getting lighter as I come this way. This is a crazy whimsical tree that doesn't make sense. So it doesn't have to be brown and it doesn't have to be green. Right now, I am using turquoise and orange together. And if you look at a color wheel, they are across from each other on the color wheel. So what does that mean when two colors are across from each other on the color wheel? Anybody remember? Starts with the letter C. And those colors really make each other look good. So they are called complementary colors. So if you really want this little part of the tree to stand out, use a complementary color. Analogous colors are any three that are next to each other on the color wheel. So they're all going to look good together too. So let's say I want to blend some colors. Maybe I want kind of a yellow green or yellow blue. I can kind of do that, right? And so that's kind of what I feel like doing there. So, you know, Google a little printout and have it up on your computer of a color wheel if you like, or pull out the one that you made and take a peek at it, because you'll come up with some really cool color combinations if you look at that. Right? So feel free to blend your colors, right? That's really pretty. So make your weird tree. You're going to be coloring this whole thing, and you want to think about, like, I think this part up here is going to be my darker part, because now I've got the light over here. And, you know, just try to think about it. Figure out, where's that light going to hit? It's probably not going to hit on this curved part because this is starting to go up over, right? So typically, you know, when you don't even know if there's a light source or not, we'll do this one as an example. Your dark side, the sides are going to be dark, right? Because they're the ones going around the corner. And when you're making a drawing, you want to draw in the direction of your curve. So do not go this way, right? Go like this. Do those little circles, right? And it's going to get lighter and lighter. So now we've kind of created this round look, and we used value to make it look even more round. And we can go in with black, and we can darken those edges a little bit. It's all about the pencil pressure with value, right? If you're trying to get your darkest dark with your turquoise, you're going to press really, really hard. But this pencil can only go so far. So you can add a little black to it to just make it a little bit more dramatic. So you can see what I did here. I just shaded it a little bit, and it really, really gave it a really cool 3D look. So don't stress too much about the light source. Play around with weird stuff like this. But just so you know, typically the edges, because those are wrapping around, those are going to be a little bit darker. So you can do every other ring a different color. You can mix two colors together. You can mix three colors together. I'll show you with this one. All right, I'm going to do my mid-tone. If you remember on the shading of the apple, you know, we had the occlusion shadow, which is the super dark one. A lot of the apple was a mid-tone. And then the darkest parts, you know, were kind of the shadows. So I'm going to kind of do I'm going to do red, mix orange with it. And it's a little bit of a process. You may have to go over it a couple times. But I want red to be my darkest on the edge there. And I'm going to go back over. Oops, got a lot of sun coming in my window right now. There we go. Sorry about that. It's been really cloudy and rainy today. Okay, so that's kind of you know, you can see this part's a lot lighter and this is darker. I want to go back in, I want to darken it even more, right? So I've got red and orange so far, and then I'm going to do yellow here. Right? So it has this awesome 3D. So I want you to make this crazy wild tree. I want you to have some areas where you've mixed 3 colors, where you've gone from dark to medium to light. So you can also do this with, you know, probably like maybe these 3. If you look at the tips, if you don't look at the outside so much and you look at the tips, this one's the darkest one. This one's maybe the second darkest one, and then this one's the lightest one. Let's see. Let's look over here. Yeah, that would look pretty good. So pick 3 that are, you know, next to each other on the color wheel, analogous colors, right? And this is how you spell analogous. You can Google analogous. Those are any 3 next to each other. Okay, you can do some primaries. You can do red, yellow, and blue. Just make sure that when you do the red, it's darker on the sides, lighter in the middle, right? Kind of like we did here. You can try complementaries next to each other, or you can do complementaries with each other. So let me give you an example of that. So if you look at a color wheel, purple or violet and yellow are complementaries. Now, what we learned about complementaries, the little trick question that we learned, is if you add complementaries together, what color do you get, right? And different mediums will blend together differently. I'm doing this kind of light right here because I know I'm going to be mixing purple in with it, and I want to leave some of the tooth, you know, in the paper. Tooth is that, you know, that feel of the paper. And I'm going to do purple over here. And I want to make sure to stay with the curve, right? But when you start mixing complementaries together, you get brown. And so when I see people at the art store buying brown, I just think, wow, there's like 50 different ways that you could make brown. Why are you doing that? That is a total waste of money. So you'll see here in a minute, colored pencils don't blend together as well as like paint, for instance. Paint will mix together, whereas these kind of layer. So you'll see it more with paint, but it'll make kind of an icky color in between. So you can kind of see that that's brown. And violet and yellow are my favorite way to make brown. I think that it's one of the best ones for skin tones, right? But let's say we did complementaries next to each other. We did orange and turquoise next to each other like we did here. Let me show you how that would make brown, right? So we've got, get lighter, lighter, lighter with the turquoise. And then we'll get the orange on this side. And then we'll get lighter, lighter and bring it in. I have too sharp of a line there, so I'm going to kind of go over it. I'm kind of doing those little circles, right? And you can see that it's kind of turning into an icky color, but really it's a nice pretty brown. It's not one of my favorite skin tone browns, but if you're doing an animal or something, you know, that has brown fur, like maybe you're doing a bear or a fox or something, and you want a bunch of different colors of brown, then you can do that. Here's another trick. You can add another color similar. So this is turquoise, but here we have purple. Instead of black, I could add a little purple back here to even push that value a little bit and make that corner darker. So see, that's a lot darker than it was. And then I could take red over here and darken that orange because it's right next to it on the color wheel. So now I've really pushed the value of this one, and this one's really interesting. You will notice when you have different colored ones on each ring, your tree is going to, like, that's another way to change direction. It'll look like it's going this way, then it looks like it's going this way. And one of the things that makes that happen is the color that you choose. So if you remember from when we were learning about color theory, warm colors come forward, right? So even though this yellow is kind of in the back around the corner, you notice it, right? And if you're looking at these two next to each other, you're noticing the orange more than you're noticing the turquoise, right? And even though this orange one is at the bottom, it jumps out at you just as much, if not more, as this one, right? Because this is a cool color and that's a warm color. So another thing that you might want to do is you might want to take a look at an area where you maybe have overlapped your branches. And if this branch is in the back, normally it would recede into the background, but you can use color to make it come forward. So we can use, you know, oranges and yellows and that kind of thing to kind of make this one look just as important as the one in front of it. And I'm kind of going lightly over this whole branch with my mid-tone, which is going to be orange. So this is kind of a faster way to do it. I'm making really, really careful blending. If you look at this close up, you can't see a lot of lines there. Like I've got my pencil nice and dull now, so when I go around and do the midtones, it's pretty easy. And then I can just kind of start pressing a little harder and harder. I'm doing those little circles, but it's all about the pencil pressure, right? Like this one over here, right? This, I pressed hard, then I was lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. So I'm doing the same thing here. So I'm going to want to go in and put my orange in here. I'm staying with the direction of the curve, and I'm making sure not to have any super sharp lines in there. I kind of blend it in if that starts happening. I'm not going to worry about this side yet. I'm going to add some red to it. Right? So I'll show you what I mean. This branch is really going to jump out. I'm not going to do the whole thing. It's going to take too long. You have a couple different colors of red. You can use this darker one if you want. For the very, very end. Right? Notice I'm not going like this. I'm going like this because I'm staying with the curve. Okay, and then I'm going to take some yellow and I'm going to do this side. So now I've got all my warm colors in this one. I'm blending them in with the orange. So I have red, orange, and yellow in here. And if you back it up, then let's say we're going to use some greens and some blues. Let's check and see which one is our darkest blue. That one's really dark. This one's a lot lighter. Okay, so here's what we're going to do for this one. We're going to use this as our dark blue, this is our medium, and then this is our highlight. We're going to add these two together to be the highlight. So let's add our darkest one under here. I'm just going to do a couple little sections for you. This is our darkest. Staying with my curve, trying to blend it nicely. I'm not there yet with the middle tone, but I know it's coming, so I don't want to have a sharp line ready. And then I'm going to go in, get my middle tone. And I'm going to go back in and press really hard, 100% pencil pressure for this super dark part. And if I feel like that's not dark enough, I can always add some black to it. And then I'm gonna do really, really light. Really, 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 really light. There's barely anything on there. The tooth is grabbing it a little bit. I'm gonna go in with my white now, and when I start rubbing the white into the blue, it's gonna create a light blue color. That's a little bit darker. Okay, so even though this one's behind, it really does kind of jump out at you. And make sure to follow it down, and this one's going to be that same color. Or if you want to get weird and have it alternate and do all kinds of weird stuff, you can. But I want you to have fun with this tree. I want you to practice analogous colors. I want you to practice complementary, which are across from each other. Oops. Okay, and let's see, warm and cool colors. I want you to kind of play around with the contrast of warm and cool. Come on, pen, there we go. Okay, so complementary, warm and cool, analogous colors. Use your darker colors on the edges to make them kind of look rounded. Play around with some highlights. Just be weird with it. This is going to be a crazy, weird, whimsical tree. So I hope you guys have fun with it. That is your project for the week. I do expect you to work on this for probably about 4 hours. It's a little bit time consuming, and I do want good craftsmanship. So I want to see careful blending. I don't want to see any of these lines coming off over on the side of the tree. I want some thoughtful work in here, and check the rubric and make sure that you're doing all of these things that I'm asking you to do. And I can't wait to see them. All right, bye guys.